from Japan, folding paper with her hand, singing songs of peace. Teaching the young, teaching the old, teaching the world how to fold paper cranes of peace, flying now. There's a girl in the park.
Good morning. And welcome to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm glad that you've made the connection and are with us today. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and the goal of our show is to explore a wide range of topics that challenge us to see ourselves, our community, and the world around us in ways that get us thinking, get us talking, get us imagining, get us listening, get us connected, and perhaps inspired or challenged to do just a bit more because we've made the connection. So our topic today is, it's January 6th, and this is a date that all of us will remember and all of us still are dealing with in terms of what does it mean in terms of democracy, peace, and freedom, and our future. And who better to explore that with us is Larry Long. Larry Long is a singer-songwriter, spoken word poet, educator, activist, storyteller, someone who's traveled around the world and tells the songs that allow us to imagine a better world. He is a troubadour in the true sense of the world. Rick Bernardo is with Larry Long in studio, and I am joining via the internet, and the beauty of that. COVID has hit me too, but I am in recovery, and I am joining the show via StreamYard. So welcome to all.
And thanks, Lori. And that song was a little bit, you know that, of Love Will Lay Hatred Down from the Sweet Thunder album we're going to be talking about today.
Absolutely. And Larry, you're going to be in a concert. You've got something coming up.
Yes, I do. It's an American Roots Review concert. It's actually the 10th anniversary of American Roots Review. And I'm going to be performing with gospel legend Robert Robinson. He's going to be a featured artist and singer, songwriter, and composer, film composer Barbara Cohn, a vocalist and keyboardist Billy Steele, Michael Bland, who's the drummer for Soul Asylum and was the drummer for Prince, celloist Jacqueline Alton, lead guitarist Jeremy Irvisacker, and my old buddy Phil and Pete Watercott is flying in from California with bassist Liz Draper and Alana Dickinson. And also J.D. Steele is going to be joining us as well.
Oh, wonderful.
And because our beloved Tanya Hughes Kendrick, who was featured, her mother passed away this last week, and so gratefully J.D. is stepping up, and it was through J.D. that I met Tanya Hughes Kendrick, and actually through J.D. we founded American Roots Review. So,
and this is going to be at the Dakota on the 13th
yeah.
on the evening, and there's the tickets at DakotaCooks.com.
Yeah, that's right. And the people want to call in. It's 612-332-5299.
And really, one of the shows is almost just a few tickets left, and there's a 6:30 and an 8:30.
Right, 6:30, 8:30.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to being there. I love music, and I love live music, and especially the kind that you hang with. And so,
well, thank you.
I don't treat myself to that enough.
Larry, the song that led us into the show today, Love Will Lay Hatred Down. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about what inspired you to create that song?
Well, the verse that you just played was inspired by a woman who's a survivor from Hiroshima and Nagasaki, from the nuclear blast of World War II. And I was actually at a United Nations function in Finland and performing. And I walked down the stairs of this very large a convention building, and there was this woman from Japan who was seated making peace cranes, with origami, and she was making peace cranes inside of a circle of photographs that showed the devastation of that nuclear blast. But she had such a beautiful, kind energy about her, and I walked in, and she just passed over some paper, origami paper, and I sat with her for several hours until I could make peace crayons. And so that first verse was a gift to her. She was traveling the world for nuclear disarmament. And then the second part of that verse was inspired by a young girl in La Crosse, Wisconsin, who on Hiroshima Nagasaki Day, she had organized the community of La Crosse to float peace lanterns out on the Mississippi River by night, and hundreds of peace lanterns with prayers for peace and nuclear disarmament. And so in that same spirit. And then the chorus to the song comes from an indigenous prayer that I've rearranged, beauty before, beauty behind, beauty above, beauty below, beauty all around. And then I added the line to it, love will lay hatred down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking it sounded like an indigenous prayer with it giving praise from above and below, and then the four directions being part of that interwoven.
Yes. Uh-huh.
There's so many circles in indigenous, all kinds of tribal patterns of living, the architectures. The political structures are more built on circles than hierarchies, and it comes up a lot in policy discussions in my ethics courses. Actually, just the movements through history of how you can arrange things socially and realistically and practically. It's fascinating.
It's a very democratic form of building community where everybody's voice is heard within a circle. And it is non-patriarchal and hierarchical.
And that's why that stands out even in medieval legend, the round table, the King Arthur's round table. That stands out because it's like nothing else was like circles. It was just like, you're the peons, you're going to live and die, we're going to be here in the castle.
Larry, as you're thinking about this being January 6th and love laying hatred down, how does it hit you that, a few years ago we had an insurrection at our Capitol, and it strikes me in thinking about the pain that woman had in making the origami coming from, the devastation she faced and how she approached peace. Is there some suggestions you can give to us in how we can approach this year coming up, this being our kickoff for our 2024, and knowing that this is January 6th where we faced such a pain in our nation before? What musical insight can you give us to be looking to gain that sense of peace and to share that sense of peace with others?
I would say always be wary of anyone who's trying to motivate others around fear, and that mobilizes people around their worst fears versus, those that are speaking on behalf of what we love and the world we're striving for the generations to come. Obviously, the leadership of what happened from the former president, which I hope and pray he's not allowed to return to the White House, is that, he mobilized some pretty good people that around fear and conspiracy, and out of that fear created hatred and anger and vengeance in a way that was so distorted and such a violation of the very foundation of what we strive for as a democratic country. And I really think that any way that we can build bridges between other people that even don't share the same views that we have, but that we don't isolate ourselves even within the progressive community, that we really move out and we build relationships. And I think it's through relationships the world gets changed, and whatever fears we have tend to get broken. At least I have found in my life, when I reach out to people who are different than I, and I begin to hear their story and listen to what they have to say, and then to encourage them as well to not be motivated by their fears, but by what they believe in and they hold true within the core values of love.
And that is so beautifully expressed in your song about how to lay hatred down through love and through peaceful ways. It's the connection. It comes back to, what we've always talked about with Connections Radio Show. What is it that connects us versus separates us? What creates the us versus the us and them?
What do you reflect upon, Lori, in terms of January 6th?
I feel so much pain that mostly I think about the police that were there that were trying to save our democracy and what they went through. And when there is a denial that it was real, and knowing what they tried to do to keep it secure, and their anguish, I want to open my heart to those that defended our Capitol and defended our ability to be able to put our president in place in a peaceful way. I want that story to be heard and felt, because you can't, if you take that in, it's hard to say that it was just a peaceful gathering that got out of hand. No, it was more than that, and we need to be open to loving everyone, even the people that went to the Capitol, as you said, and hoping to bring them into the fold of something bigger and brighter and better than smashing and grabbing and creating such a mess that tried to keep our president from, being duly elected president for our country. There was no peaceful transition. We need to get back to having a peaceful transition.
And I know we got to go, but I just want to remind our listeners that love does not mean necessarily tolerating harm to people.
Right. There's such a thing called hard love.
Well, love could be hard if you really go to the mat.
And there's consequences to actions, and when I hear this individual talking about on his first day when he comes in office, pardoning those who actually took the lives of those who are actually trying to protect our country. It's under the umbrella that he's somehow a law and order president. It's very vile, and even his recent.
In our next segment, I'd like to talk about that sense of truth. I mean, that seems to be some of the problem too. Is what is the truth?
Yeah,
and how do we get to the truth through love? And with that, I'm going to have Patrick go ahead and play the next segment in Love Will Lay Hatred Down, and then we'll go to break.
She lights a candle in the dark, hoping that it will spark peace the world around. Beauty before, beauty above, beauty below, beauty all around. Love will lay hatred down, beauty before, beauty behind, beauty above, beauty below, beauty all around. Love will lay hatred down.
Welcome back to Connections Radio Show. and you're listening to Larry Long, a troubadour extraordinaire who's joining us today on the show. Rick Bernardo is my co-host and is at the host today position because I am not. I am joining via the glory of internet and StreamYard, and am delighted to be able to still connect and be part of the show today. That music you were hearing, Beauty Above, Beauty Below, How to Love and Lay Hatred Down. We were talking in our first segment about January 6th and how to lay hatred down and how to connect with love. And this is a song that Larry has written. Tell us, for those that are just joining us, tell us a little bit how you developed the song and why it's so important for today.
I mean, the song was also inspired during a time of great hope. It was during the time of perestroika and glasnost in the former Soviet Union and Gorbachev, and during that period of time, I was on a Soviet American peace cruise down the entire Mississippi and down the Volga River, and I was able to go to the Ukraine and Russia and travel all the way down to New Orleans from St. Paul in a boat filled with cosmonauts and
awesome.
and laity and clergy and culture workers and people involved in the peace movement here and over there. And there was a great sense of hope at that time because things had broken down. And now we've returned once again to the same sort of Cold War politics with the horrendous bombing of the Ukraine by Putin and the terrible bombing that we're seeing now in the Middle East. And I've been thinking to myself, when people say ceasefire in Israel, I want them to say in the same breath, ceasefire in the Ukraine, ceasefire world around. And I've often thought, like when 9/11 happened, instead of dropping bombs, what if we would have parachuted in orchestras and instruments and painters and singers into Afghanistan and educators, and instead of bombs, medical people, and showed a sign of goodwill versus vengeance, and the whole thing of the need of some level of mercy, not responding so quickly with rage and anger, but to really reflect upon the actions that we do so we just don't continue this barbarism that we're seeing now.
So, in extreme situations, it's hard to remember that. We want to take some radical action in response to that, and I think it can be important to remember that radical really means rooted. And so radical action can be appropriate, but where is it rooted? That is key. Are our roots in beauty and love and peace, or are they in just like butchering people? And that's a really stark difference.
When you were going down the river and you were making friends and looking at hope and peace, what was the central hope that you believed could be accomplished in bringing that group together that were so dedicated to peace, that you could recall to give us that same sense of hope in moving forward?
What was amazing on that peace cruise down the Mississippi River and the Volga is that as we went down the Mississippi River, and people learned that there was actually going to be real Russians and Ukrainians and Latvians on a boat with government people and laity from both sides, that actually as we came into Dubuque, Iowa, there were church choirs singing on both sides of the river, singing peace songs. And it was like there was an outpouring of incredible love, because for so long this tension of them being our enemy And us being there, it was broken. All of a sudden there was this hope. And with that hope, joy bubbled up. It was almost like I felt like I was one of the Beatles when we went through when we went through locks and dams, and I have all this in photographs. I photographed the whole thing, and people just with love in their hearts and flowers, throwing flowers onto the boat, and then us throwing flowers back, and people singing and rejoicing, and I would come off it was the Delta Queen that we were on. And when I came off the Delta Queen, I would be playing my guitar, singing, and there was a Ukrainian folk artist who was singing with me, and I was singing with her. And it was all of this incredible love and camaraderie. But and it was the same thing over on the Volga River as well. People in Russia and Ukraine came up with tears in their eyes, crying and giving us gifts, and just rejoicing in the fact that maybe at last the war is over, maybe at last peace is possible, and it was pure bliss. And the Soviet American Peace Cruise happened over a 3-year period. We went different legs of both rivers at different times, and I ended up touring over there with Chris Christopherson at that time too, and we stayed in Hotel Rosia, which was right next to Red Square, and so it was extraordinary.
Well, that is a perfect, I think, segue into hearing the verse about the Red Square, and I'm going to have Patrick play that. And then in the next segment, we'll do a little bit about the Boise verse that I want to learn about as well. So we'll go to break by listening to the Red Square stanza.
Passions to share with the one he's holding tonight. Kremlin wall, Lenin's tomb, change of the god, iridescent moon, singing a song of love. Beauty before, beauty behind, beauty above. One stitch at a time from many old designs, a symbol of a world that must come. We will stitch this world together, yeah. Don't give up, my friend, my love. Beauty before, beauty behind.
Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm Laurie Fitz, your host. Larry Long is joining us today, and that was his piece, Love Will Lay Hatred Down. Rick Bernardo, my co-host, is at the helm today, and I am supporting via the magic of StreamYard, and I'm on internet and bringing us all together.
And Laurie, just to recap, that was Love Will Lay Hatred Down from Sweet Thunder. I know you mentioned that before, but if you're just joining us. And Larry Long's website, larrylong.org. It's a great place to go for all kinds of connections and events going on with Larry.
And I should mention that this was just put out for the first time on digital distribution on Spotify, etc., through Rock the Cause.
I was going to mention that as well. Oh, well, yeah.
And it's a new release. These songs have never been up on these digital platforms through Sony and Orchard, and with a lot of respect for Scott Harold. I
was going to say a shout out to Scott Harold and I Rock the Cause .org is that website. But there's all these connections, and these days to really be in the swing of beautiful things and music, both those websites are good to check out.
And on this particular song, it was produced by Billy Peterson, the Peterson family, and singing harmony with me is Claudia Schmidt, and Michael Johnson on guitar, Dave Carr on flute, and Bruce Curnow on harp.
And it's such an inspiring song, how to lay hatred down, and love can make it happen. Tell me about this particular stanza about the stitch, the woman in Boise.
There was the Boise peace quilt from Boise, Idaho. That was. And the Boise Peace Quilt, I believe, has an image of the Gaff Rig Clearwater sloop, and that Pete Seeger, him and his wife lived along the Hudson River, and him with hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers campaigned, and the organization is still campaigning to clean up the waters of the Hudson. And anyway, it's such a beautiful quilt, and it was given to Pete for his years and years of work, working for peace as a singer and a writer and a peace activist. And as I was looking at that quilt, I was just thinking, it's just one stitch at a time, and out of that creates this incredible, beautiful piece of art, and it became a bit of a metaphor for what it is that we do together collectively. Because we need each other as part of this will of humanity. I feel that we're each called to do something, and each of us have to find out what that calling is. And if you do follow that calling, you're then part of this great wheel of kind of fulfilling, a better future and destiny for this earth and our children and all creatures who inhabit it.
And when we find our purpose, it does give us joy. So it allows us to feel more connected and to contribute and to create something more, something special.
It's an incredible burden too. I mean, it's like this song. This song it came out of probably my own fears, my own anger about the way the world has turned, and I wanted to find a way to respond to that in a positive way. And to focus on the cup half full and not the cup half empty. And so that is the gift of creativity. It's as much about myself, trying to be at peace with my own inner turmoil and the world around me, to remind myself how it is that I want to be and do my best to act upon that higher good.
Well, it's always such a great way to take the energy that comes over us and do something with it. Neil Young said in this interview years ago, this was his experience. He said, all this stuff comes to us, it seems like from some other place, and all we can do is wait for it with open arms and turn it around and do something good with it. And that just moves me, and that's what we're talking about here. It's all we can do, but it's a great, meaningful thing to be able to do.
Well, it's even this conversation we're having, because I didn't really know where we were going to go in this conversation, but we're on that journey together. Having no idea what's going to come out of my mouth next.
Walk of faith. It's the talk of faith. How's that? Well, I also wanted, now that we're also talking about bringing people together and making a difference and seeing where it takes us, live at the Dakota. I know that we mentioned this at the top of the show, but I also wanted to bring it back here too. Live at the Dakota, the American Roots Review is going to be on January 13th, 2024. That's this year. It's coming up. 6:30 and 8:30 shows. The 8:30 has a few more than the 6:30, but if you want to go to the 6:30, there are a few left. You want to share a little bit about this time that you're going to be having on January?
Well, American Roots Review is it's the band's absolutely incredible, and it's everything from rhythm and blues to soul to gospel to folk to old-time fiddle tunes to indigenous Anishinaabe Ojibwe songs, songs out of the civil rights movement from Robert Robertson. So it's a musical journey between multiple cultures and multiple musical styles, and the stage reflects, in many ways, the kind of world we envision, a world of celebration of diversity and the celebration of joy, and also to reflect upon just the common good and just having fun. I mean, it's a joyous concert. There's 11 people in the band, so we have keyboards and electric guitar and acoustic stuff and a lot of harmony. So it's fun. It's going to be a really joyous gathering, and I really urge people to come on out. I only organize this about once a year, and this is the 10th year of doing it.
Wow.
I was going to ask you that, if this is something that you do annually, or and are the same people that come back every year, or is there a little bit different every year?
No, it's a changing format. I mean, there's people that have never been on the show before, including Barbara Cohn and Jacqueline Alton and Jeremy Ivasaka and Liz Draper and Fiddlin' Pete. They've never been on this show before. But Robert Robertson tends to be on most of them, and also I always try to bring in either J.D. or Tanya Hughes Kendrick. But it's a rotating cast of characters. And every time I do it, when I'm in the midst of it, like now, I say to myself, I'm never going to do this again. It's so much work. But then when the show happens, there's such joy, and also the joy of community, because American Roots Review brings together people that quite often don't see each other for another year, and then new folks, and it's really community building. And then when it's all over, I go, dang, I'm going to do it again.
You know what, Larry? I've heard those exact words from new mothers. Number one, I'm never, the night before, I'm never going to do this again. And then the next afterwards, like,
so
okay.
It sounds like Larry's got like 10 kids.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I guess it refers to like the labor of love.
Yes.
The labor of love.
Yes, it is. So Larry, have you worked with each of these people? Do you ever invite a group that you've never worked with, or have you had some working relationship with all the people that you invite?
Well, I've never worked with Liz Draper or Jeremy, or I have worked with Jacqueline Alton. I've never worked with Barbara Cohn. So, yes, we do bring in people. We had Dave Perner from Soul Asylum that sang one year, and Guy Davis, whose father, Ozzie Davis, I flew in from New York, a great blues singer and a blues artist. We had Haley Bonner come in, Chastity Brown, a wide assortment of people of different generations. So, yeah, and it moves with intentionality of diversity of both complexion and also musical formats. So that's done with intentionality. And the songs that we do is that the featured artists, they choose the songs that they want to do, but it's within a selection process. Each artist will send me 3 to 5 songs, and out of that, themes begin to build, and out of those themes, we then figure out which of those songs they wanted to sing will be the songs that we do that night. So it's a very collective process. Yeah.
Do you practice beforehand, or do you just you hone down what the songs are, and then when you get together, it just happens?
I'm laughing because, before I came to this show, I went into our shared Dropbox folder, where all the songs are placed in Dropbox, and everybody downloads that with the charts and the chords, and in this coming week, we have a vocal rehearsal on Monday, and then 2 full band rehearsals on Wednesday and Thursday, and then the day of the show, the sound check, and then we do another run through before the the two concerts. So we get down on it.
Yeah, get down on it.
Well, with having you get down on it, we're gonna hear one more song, and going into break here, and we'll come back in the fourth segment and share a little bit more about that. But we're going to be going on the road to freedom right now.
All that is will surely change. Flesh will go, but the heart remains. We all ride a single train. It's life's only road to freedom. With each mile that we go, listening to that whistle blow, the more we hear, the more we know we're on that road to freedom. Walls can't hold what love won't hide. Papers talk, powers lie. People, we know that road to freedom. Yes, we're on that road to freedom. Yes, we're on that road to freedom. While the world splits in two, talk of war, all will lose. Let us sing, let us choose to bridge the walls to freedom.
Welcome back to the Connections Radio Show, where we want to be back on the road to freedom. Larry Long, thank you so much for bringing your music, your insight, and your time with us today. Rick, thank you for all your organization that pulls us all together as we come together via the internet.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
With my StreamYard connection. Connections keeps getting wider. But what a beautiful song, Larry, to have us be thinking about what's the bridge that we need to have to freedom. And what a beautiful way to think about the year ahead, especially on January 6th. What do we need to do to bridge the freedom?
And, you know, I got to say, music, a number of people have said music is prayer with wings. It's so many other things as well. It's so powerful. And not just the words of that song and other songs too, but this one in particular moved me as I was listening to it on the way here again. It occurred to me, it's not just the words. It's more like there's all of a sudden my breathing and my body is saying, let's get with it. And whatever it is, there's an energy and an intention that's operating on different levels. It's just like that's why I love music.
Just singing with me on that song is Michael Johnson, and the late Michael Johnson, and he's from Minnesota, and he actually he lived outside of Minneapolis, and what a beautiful voice Michael has. He was a pretty well-known singer in the country field, but his virtuosity on guitar and his voice extended far beyond that.
Wow.
So we miss Michael.
And Laurie, just before I forget, also Larry's going to be on 6 o'clock tonight, Paul Metz's Wall of Power program. So just for more, are you talking about some of the show coming up? And
some of it, but a little different. But,
okay.
Okay. But I just thought, I started laughing, Walls of Power, and the lyric to the song, it's to bridge the walls to freedom. And so,
yeah, it's okay. Walls go up, walls come down.
We're sort of a companion piece to make sure that the full meeting it comes to full power. How's that?
I really appreciate Paul. He does good work. Yeah.
For a long time.
10 years. This is the 10th year anniversary of his show.
Oh,
yeah.
That's that's younger than me, but it's a long time.
Right. It's 7 times younger than me.
Rick,
yes.
Be sure to share how people can get tickets to the show coming up on January 13th.
Yeah, this is the American Roots Review, January 13th. Dakota Cooks, just 2 words, no spaces, dakotacooks.com, because it's at the Dakota Club, and 612-332-5299. Once again, that number, 612-339-5299. That's the Dakota phone number. For tickets, the 8:30 show has more tickets, but squeeze in wherever you can. It's going to be beautiful.
We're both going to try and make it there, Larry.
Thank you.
Well, how could we resist coming to such a beautiful extravaganza of good music, and what a great way to start the year in, particularly one that's going to be a tough one, with love and peace and multicultural and good thoughts for the future, and how do we all come together and get connected?
And we just got about 1 more minute, right? So how do we want to
Well, one lyric to
off?
this song is people you know that road to freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those roads to freedom is to get out and vote. And not only just to get out and vote, but actually be really active this year in order to stand up for those things that you believe in and that you hold close and with value.
There's one other encouragement I have. Not only do you vote, but find one person who might not think that they're going to vote and help them vote. Get them out there voting too.
Thank you.
Do a +1. Get your vote +1.
Awesome.
Because we need to.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for having me. It's always a joy to be with you.
Here's more of Larry's song, LarryLong.org.
Always a joy to have you, Larry.
On that road to freedom.